These are your Unit 1A, Day 5 notes. You'll be looking at Standard 2A and 3B. In Standard 2A, you're going to practice solving expressions involving multiplication of positive and negative numbers and division of positive and negative numbers. Standard 3B, you're going to need to explain why an answer would be positive or negative. So the first thing that's super important is the rules for adding and subtracting integers are different than multiplying and dividing. They are not the same. So the little tricks that you did to know whether it's positive or negative when you add and subtract, those tricks do not work for multiplying and dividing. So you have to memorize 2 sets of tricks or rules. But you also have your calculator, so don't worry, you can check your work. So the first thing, just a quick reminder about multiplication, is there are different symbols that tell you to multiply. You have your traditional symbol, you have your dot right here, you have your parentheses, so any number next to a parentheses means to multiply, and then you have your asterisk. The ones you will see most often in algebra and pre-algebra are these 2. This is not one that you should use, and that is because when you're working with variables, when you have an x, it's confusing. So these 2 are the ones you're really going to see most frequently. So now, real quick, complete the following operations using a calculator. Pause the video, just practice putting in multiplication problems into your calculator. Okay, hopefully this was pretty simple. You just type 2 times 6 in your calculator and you got the answer of 12, and so on. Nice thing with multiplication is it doesn't matter what order you do it in, you still get the right answer. Okay, so now let's look at some rules because this is definitely a review. When multiplying 2 integers with the same sign, so that would mean like if you're multiplying, for example, a positive multiplied by a positive, those would be the same sign. Or if the problem was a negative multiplied by a negative, your answer is always positive. So if they're the same sign, it's positive. Okay? So if I look here, I have positive 3 times positive 6. Both are positive, so my answer's positive. Now here, I have negative 5 and negative 4, but they're the same sign, so what does that mean? That means my answer is positive. All right, now let's go to the next one. We have a negative 6 and a negative 2. Those are the same sign, so your answer is positive, okay? So I would go ahead and make sure that you have all of this information in your notes. Okay, and I'm going to highlight these 2 blues just so it's clear that we're showing the same sign. Okay? Nope, this needs to put there. All right, hopefully you have all this recorded and we can move on. So our second rule for multiplying is when multiplying 2 integers with different signs, the answer is negative. So when we're multiplying a positive times a negative, and it doesn't matter the order. All right, whoops, this one should have been blue because blue represents positive. All right, so when we're multiplying a positive and a negative, the answer is always negative. So if they're different, it's negative. If they're the same, it's positive. So I look at this problem right here, and I have a positive 3 and a negative 6, different signs. So my answer is negative 18. Next problem. I have a positive 5, and I have a negative 4. A positive times a negative is a negative because they are different signs. Okay? And next one here, we have a negative 6 times a positive 2. They are different signs, so guess what? That means our answer is negative 12. So that's really what you need to know with multiplying, and the rules are the same for dividing too. So here we go. Same sign, positive. Different sign, negative. All right, now we are going to look at the rules of division, and guess what? They're the exact same as multiplication. So when you're working in pre-algebra or algebra, most of the time you're going to see division like that. So a fraction is a division problem. Something else that you need to remember with division is it matters what you put in first. Okay? So for this one, this is typed in your calculator first. For this one, that would be typed in your calculator first. For this one, that's typed in your calculator first. And for the fraction, it's always the top number. So 1, 1, 1, 1. All right? If you think you need to put that in your notes to remember it, go for it. All right. So what you're going to do now is you're going to pause the video and use a calculator to answer these questions. This is good practice to make sure that you're putting in the right number first. Okay? Hopefully you got these same answers because you put in the right number first. So we have 4, 5, 4, 4, 5, and 3. And you can see all of these are positives because all of the numbers are positive. They are the same sign. So here we go. We're going to repeat our rules. When dividing two integers with the same sign, okay, same sign, positive and a positive, negative and negative. This is written like a fraction. What is the answer going to be always? If they're the same sign, the answer will always be positive. All right, so if we put these in our calculator, we look right here. 9 divided by 3. 9 is positive, 3 is positive. So my answer is positive. Next, we have negative 15 divided by negative 3. We have a negative and a negative. They are the same sign. So my answer is positive. All right, moving on to our last problem. We have negative 3 divided by negative 1. These are both negative numbers. So they are the same sign. So that means that your answer is negative. Perfect. All right. Now let's move on to our last rule, which is when dividing two integers with different signs, your answer is always negative. So when they're different, it's always negative. So we have our positive divided by our negative. What does that mean? That means the answer is negative because they are different signs, okay? So we got our negative down here and our positive up here. So when you're dividing different signs, your answer is negative. Let's look at this first problem right here. We have negative 9 divided by positive 3. We have two different signs, a negative and a positive, so that means my answer is negative. Next, we go to 15, positive 15 divided by negative 3. They are different signs, so that means my answer is negative. All right, last but not least, we have negative 3 divided by 1. So we are dividing a negative by a positive. Negative 3 divided by negative 1. They are different signs. So that means my answer is negative. Negative 3. Perfect. All right, get all this written down. Let's move on. Okay, so this is mixed practice. And for these problems, instead of solving them, I just want you to put whether the answer would be negative or positive. So for example, on this first one right here, it's a positive times a positive. They are the same sign, so I know that my answer is positive. Okay? I move on to, let's say, number 4. We have a positive multiplied by a negative. They are different signs, so I know that my answer is negative. All right, pause the video, and to determine whether each of these answers would be positive or negative, you don't have to actually solve it. I just want to know whether it'd be positive or negative. Okay, so I hope that you got the same answers. What you should do is pause the video and check your work and see if it matches with these problems, okay? If it doesn't, then you need to think, what did I do wrong? Remember, same sign, positive, different signs, negative.